So welcome. This is a Yin class without the use of props. And it would help if you were a bit familiar with the poses and their names. A good book to use is a book by Norman Blair called Brightening Our Inner Skies, Yin and Yoga. So if we begin, just lying on your back in a posture called constructive rest. You can lie wherever is comfortable on a mat or a rug. If you have it available, a blanket under the head. Or you can use a folded towel. And the knees are bent with the feet flat on the floor. And the knees can either be apart or they can be falling in towards each other. And so now just feeling the back of the body. Noticing how the feet contact the floor. So allow the soles of the feet to gradually open to receive the ground. It's like the feet are becoming very receptive. See if you can let the feet yield into ground, as opposed to propping them up on the ground. See if you can notice a difference there. And then notice the back of the pelvis. You might want to give a gentle rock to the pelvis to see if you can find a place for the pelvis to settle. You might notice if one side of the pelvis seems to have more weight in it than the other, or if one side of the pelvis appears to be higher than the other. Don't really worry about it, just noticing. And then noticing the back and how the back contacts the ground. And how the shoulder blades contact the ground, and any differences then between the right and the left shoulder blades. And noticing any differences between the right and the left arm and how they rest on the ground. And then noticing how the weight falls on the skull. You might want to rock gently the head to find a comfortable resting place for the skull. And then just noticing the breath. You can close the eyes if you like, or maybe you'd rather keep them open. And so then from here, bringing the knees in towards the chest and just hugging the knees. So you can hold each leg individually, or maybe you'd like to wrap the arms around the legs if that's possible. Or maybe you'd like to just leave the hands on the ground. So you're looking for a way to be here in this shape with the knees to chest without taking too much tension in the upper body. Yes, there will be effort involved to hold the knees, but it shouldn't cause a straining through the neck or the jaw or the breath. So when the mind wanders, which it inevitably does, either bringing it back to the sensations involved on the back of the body and how the body meets the ground, or if noticing sensations on the back of the body isn't interesting for the mind and the mind wants to wander, noticing the breath. Noticing where you feel the breath the most. Maybe it's in the nostrils, or perhaps you feel it in the throat. Or maybe you feel it most in the chest, or in the abdomen. Maybe you can even feel the back of the lungs move. And always knowing that if it's not a comfortable shape to hold, that you can always bring the feet back down to the floor. Last few breaths like this. And then we're going to change the position of the body to a happy baby pose. So in happy baby, the feet will point up towards the ceiling and the knees will bend towards the ground on the outer edges of the body. So it's like a wide-legged squat in the air. I like to hold the outer edges of the feet because that gives me a sense of space across the chest. But you might find it more comfortable to hold the heels on the inside of the legs or to hold the shins or to hold another place that feels comfortable. And then if you can, finding a sense of stillness in the shape. And so it's a soft stillness. And the breath is still easy. The back of the body still has that sense of yielding, of softening, of melting into the ground. So as you stay, there's a sense of reducing the effort. Maybe the grip that you have on your feet or lower leg can soften a little. Maybe the face and jaw and tongue can start to soften a little. And just gently drawing the wandering mind back. And back to investigating the sensations arising from the pose, or back to the breath. Knowing that if the shape becomes too effortful as you stay, you can always change the shape, or you can always release from the shape. And being okay with your decision to do that. Alternatively, staying as you are. Last few breaths like this. And so then from your happy baby position, releasing. And then just gently rolling to one side. We've been on our back for about 15 minutes now, so just gently taking your time. We're going to rise up into a sitting position. Take your time, rising up and finding sitting. Once sitting, find a posture called butterfly. And in Yin Yoga, this is like a Baddha Konasana shape, with the soles of the feet together and the knees bent, falling outwards. But in Yin Yoga, the heels are far away from the body. Okay, so the heels are not pulled in tight to the body. There is a lot of space, roughly 2 hand widths of space between your heels and your body. So sitting down into the ground with the pelvis. And also sitting up out of the ground with the spine. And then from the hips, the spine comes forwards. Long first. And then allow the spine to softly round. And just allow the weight of the head to be taken by gravity. So the weight of the head is taken by gravity. This means the back of the neck can be soft. There's space between the back teeth. And jaw is easy. The breath is easy. Just finding this soft forwards folding. And instead of wanting to be deeper in the fold, or wanting the head to be closer to the feet, or wanting the knees to be closer to the floor, or any sense of striving here, instead, see if you can feel the relationship between your skull and your pelvis. And how your breath informs that relationship. So what is the relationship between the pelvis, sitting on the ground, yielding to earth, and the weight of the head? So these two body weights have a spine that stretches between them. Notice how the breath moves the spine. Softening and yielding. And last few breaths like this. And so then when you feel ready, slowly and gently taking your time to rise up. And from here we'll take a half butterfly. So straightening one leg, let's say it's the right leg, so straightening your right leg. And you can bring the left foot into the right thigh, or you can leave it where it was, somewhere around the right calf. So you decide. One leg is bent like in butterfly, and one leg is straight. Sitting down and also sitting up. So firstly finding length and relationship between skull and pelvis. And from the hips then there is movement as the spine comes forwards. And you fold. Taking your time to find the edge of the pose. So the edge of the pose is where you feel sensation. Preferably in the yin areas of the body, so above the knees, below the navel. If you have extreme sensation in the neck, or an ankle, or a knee, or something like this, it's time to come up and away from the fold. An acceptable variation of this pose is just to merely sit upright. So being here, in this half butterfly shape. Just taking a few more breaths like this. And so then when you're ready, gently and slowly journeying back so that the spine is vertical. And if you wanted to hug the knees into the chest, feel free to hug the knees into the chest. Or maybe you'd prefer to stretch both legs long and take a little back bend as you take the hands behind you, lifting the heart. So sort of counter the forward bends that we've just done. And then when you're ready, finding the other side. So this time the left leg will go long, the right foot will find a place either onto the left thigh or onto the left calf. Sitting down into your pelvis, sitting up with the skull. And then in your own time, just journeying forwards. Journeying from the hips, the spine is long. And then in time, as you seek the edge, the head releases. You can find this forward folding. Forward folding. Forward folding opens the back of the body. So perhaps as you're here, you can have a sense of the back body broadening. So there's always a relationship between the posture of the body and the breath. And so here, just noticing how this posture affects your breath. So this relationship between posture and breath is always with us throughout our day, as we either sit slumped in a chair or sit upright. The breath is affected. So noticing here, how is the breath affected by the shape that your body is now in? Can you access a sense of free breathing, where the breath can flow without strain? And if it's difficult or the breath feels strained, then this is a sure sign that you need to pull back away from the edge. So give yourself more space to breathe. Last few breaths like this. And so then gently, when you're ready, slowly rising up. And again, either hugging the knees into the chest and releasing the head forwards if you wish, as a chance to find neutral. Or if you prefer, straightening both legs and stretching backwards, a little arch of the back. Hands go behind the body for support as the chest lifts. A few breaths in one of these two places, or any other place that feels appropriate. And then coming into our next pose, which is a twist, a seated twist. So the left leg can remain straight as it was in the previous position. And this time the right foot stands down onto the ground with the knee bent. So you can either twist to the right towards the bent leg. Maybe it's comfortable to have the right hand behind your body and your left elbow or hand can hook your right knee. You may wish to keep the head on your midline, or perhaps you'd like to turn the head all the way around to look behind your right shoulder. Another option for this posture is to step your right foot across your left leg. It makes a little bit of a tighter twist through the front as you turn again towards the right leg and looking over your right shoulder. If you feel that causes strain in your neck to turn the head all the way around to the right, just leave your head on its midline. Getting a sense for relationship between pelvis and skull. So it's almost like the back of the head can move backwards. And the upper thoracic spine can move backwards. So often in twists, because we want to crank ourselves around, there's the thrusting forwards of the chest and a jutting up of the chin. Try instead to soften. The jaw softens, the chin can release slightly towards the chest. The back of the skull seeks the space behind you. And then this softening is mirrored through the upper back. So there's a sense of a soft central heart. The thoracic spine can move softly, seeking the space behind you. And then it's the ribs that turn the spine. And the spine that moves the ribs. So what is that relationship there between ribs, breath, and spine? See if you can be even softer as you stay. If you're holding your right knee with your hand, can the fingers perhaps soften? Last few breaths here. And then when you're ready, gently unwinding. maybe you'd like to straighten both legs long and hang back in a back bend, or maybe you'd like to hug both knees into the chest before you're changing sides. So then when you're ready to change sides, changing sides. This time it's the right leg that goes long, straight out in front of you, and the left foot that stands down on the floor. Or maybe you'd rather step the left foot across the right leg, sitting down into the pelvis. And go slowly. So enjoy the journey of the twist, noticing all your intentions as you move. So if you're someone who likes to strive and likes to achieve the perfect pose, where does that start to manifest in the body as you turn slowly? What does a humble twist look like? Not a defeated twist, but simply the twist that is for you in this moment. Perhaps you'd like to place that left hand behind you for support. Breathe and feel the relationship between skull, pelvis, between ribs, breath, and spinal movement. Softening the jaw so that you can release the neck, and just exploring what it's like to move the back of the head into the space behind you. And notice what it's like to soften that upper back, moving those upper thoracic spine gently into the space behind you. Breathe and feel all the little shifts involved in a pose that looks otherwise quite still. And we're just coming into the last few breaths on this side. And so when you're ready, then releasing. Maybe stretching both legs long and hanging the upper body back. Or perhaps you'd like to hug the knees or take a forward fold. Anything else that feels appropriate. So I'd like to give you a little back bend. So if you can gently move onto your belly, we'll set up for Sphinx. So lying on your belly. And then bringing the elbows under the shoulders. With the forearms resting on the ground. And you can either interlace the fingers if that's comfortable, or you can place the palms down in line with the elbows. And let the legs fall away from the body, or do anything that feels comfortable. If this is too much for your lumbar spine, then know that you can come all the way down onto your belly and rest your forehead on your hands, on the backs of the hands. So you can stack the hands one on top of the other and just rest the forehead on the hands. If you're in Sphinx, supported by the elbows and forearms, it's sometimes quite nice to let the head hang. For me, I find this brings a really nice release through the upper trapezius. If I've slept funny and I have a sore neck, I wake up and do Sphinx and let the head hang. And let the jaw soften. If you feel like you want a stronger variation, then you can come into a pose called Seal, which is to lift the torso even higher, come up off of the elbows, and place the hands on the mat, about as wide as your mat. So if you're in Seal, choosing where you're looking, might be nice to look straight ahead. Or perhaps again you'd like to let the head hang. And maybe you'd like to come up into Seal and try that for a few breaths and then come back to finish in Sphinx. So choosing the appropriate variation for your body. Last minute here. And then slowly coming out of Sphinx, pushing the pelvis backwards towards the heels to find Child's Pose. Find a variation of child's pose that you like. So since we're working without props, you might want the support of the arms outstretched in front of you. You may wish to stack the hands one on top of the other and place your head on your hands. Or maybe you're someone who likes the hands back by the pelvis. Pose of the child. So in pose of the child, the pelvis seeks the heels. It has a forward bending pattern. So the back body is opening. And with a back body opening, there can be a sense of width and breadth to the lungs. Similar to when we were lying in constructive rest, see if you can yield into ground. So as if, opposed to feeling like you're propped up on the earth, what's it like to have a sense of nestling down into earth here? Nestling down into earth. Soften the belly. And soften the breath. Last few breaths here in child's pose. So then when you're ready, gently, slowly coming up and preparing for Shavasana. So we're going to take a nice long Shavasana. So if you're happy to lie with the legs extended, lying on your back with the legs extended. If that's too much pull on your lumbar spine, then if you have a blanket handy, you can roll a blanket and place it under the knees. Or you could come off your mat and roll your mat up and place it under the knees. If you have another blanket handy, then a blanket under the head. If you're near a wall, you could lie on your back with your legs up the wall. This is a nice resting position. Good for people who spend a lot of time on their feet. Or alternatively, you could just come back how we started, in a constructive rest position with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. So it's important to take time in your final resting place to just let the body go. Really let the body sink down into the mat, down into the floor, down into the ground. There is a sense of being cradled by the earth, just held softly by the ground. And the more you let go, the more the earth can rise up to support the body. So this is our place to finish the practice, to absorb the benefits from the poses we've just done. So I believe that slowing down like this is really healthy. So we slow the body. And very gently we allow the mind to be with a slow body. So let your awareness be drawn to whatever awareness you feel in the body. If you need to make yourself more comfortable or shift, please do. And gradually easing into ground. It's the practice here of taking support. Taking support from the ground. And very gently begin to lengthen your exhale. Just a slow and gradual lengthening of exhale. Noticing how you lengthen the exhale, and in response the inhale deepens. And see if on your next inhale you can gently pick up the inhale, as opposed to grabbing for the inhale. So when the lungs go empty, let the inhale gently seep in, very gently. So you just allow the body to be breathed. And then when your breath feels full, just finding movement. So you're just breathing and moving. Maybe small movement at first. Maybe it's just fingers or toes or a rock of the head. Whatever feels nice. And just begin to breathe and also move. Breathe and move. Breathe and move. Maybe roll the ankles, the wrists. Maybe you'd like to hug the knees. Whatever feels nice to you, breathe and move. And then in your own time, gently finding a way to roll to one side. And just resting on your side for a moment. And slowly coming up through to sitting. Sitting in any way that's comfortable for you. So sitting down into the pelvis. Sitting up. And bringing the hands together in front of the chest. Inhaling to lift your chest and exhaling to release the weight of your head. Thank you for joining me in a practice.